Friday morning, it's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and here on this Friday, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. Of course, we had yesterday off. Back here this morning, and today's kind of another reflection of yesterday, to be honest with you. Out there, we'll get you updated on the market watch, stocks we're paying attention to, of course, the local and national stories you need to know. And if you're on your way to work here, well, I moved the food story up here to the first segment here as well. It is National Donut Day. I'll tell you where you can get either free or discounted donuts here this morning as well. You can stop on in. So we have that coming up here at the end of this first segment. But first, let's get right into that Market Watch. And not a good day, just like yesterday, if you didn't know, was not a good day as well. We did get the U.S. payroll, or the government payroll report. Was expected at this morning. Of course, we got the private payrolls earlier this week. We talked about that here, and we'll get into that story in just a minute. But oil is creeping up again today. Chips are selling off, and Treasury yields are rising today as well after the jobs report. So everything is down here today. As you can see, Dow Jones is down the 100 points right now to 51,474. The S&P 500 is down to 69 points to 7505. Nasdaq's down 487 points. Chips, whether it be chip makers or memory chip stocks, all down today. We're going to focus on those in stocks we're paying attention to. Nasdaq down that 498 points to 26,324. And then we got the Russell 2K also down 51 points today to 2878 for that small cap index. Look at Bitcoin, folks. Man, this was trading at 78,000 for about a week and a half, 2 weeks time frame. Hasn't been below 73,000 since early April this year. 60,577 right now for Bitcoin as that sell-off continues to happen. And that's hurting stocks like Robinhood, Coinbase, Strategy, stocks tied to cryptocurrencies are all down here over this kind of the sell-off period here for the cryptocurrencies as well out there. Stocks we are paying attention to. I told you chip stocks are taking it not good today as well. Here's the other problem. They're falling again today. They were falling yesterday as well. Well, all started with Broadcom's earnings report yesterday. It was not good. I'll tell you this. It fell 12.5% yesterday, Broadcom did. And today it's already down another 4% here today. Terrible reporting by Broadcom, and that's why their stock has been on this downhill, which means all the other chip stocks also, in sympathy going down as well. Then you got Advanced Micro Devices is down today as well, 6.27%. You know them as AMD. Intel is down today as well. All of these stocks, Intel 6.32% down. And when we're going to look at ARM, we've talked about ARM Holdings a lot here, and they had that big up last week. Well, today down 8.35%, all off of the sympathy around Broadcom's bad earnings report the other day. If you're interested in NVIDIA, it's down about 1.5% here this morning. I don't have the graph for you on that, but even the great NVIDIA is down today based off of what that whole industry is doing. And I told you here a second ago, it's not just the chip stocks themselves, it's the memory stocks as well. We're going to look at memory stocks later on when we look at the Market Watch here on this Friday. Micron Technologies, Lam Research, Seagate, and SanDisk. We're going to take a look at those memory stocks as well and that whole chip industry, and that's why the NASDAQ is down at 400. And let me get the update at 513 points today. They're obviously a tech-heavy index there in the tech stocks. So, what a Friday, right? Got to be back here. And after taking yesterday off, yesterday was pretty much the same way. So we would have been reporting that yesterday as well. But this morning, we do get the job growth numbers here from the government non-farms payroll report. And job growth unexpectedly went up in May. Big numbers as well. The U.S. labor market continues a solid year of expansion on the numbers side. We get these from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It was out this morning. These non-farm payrolls, it jumped to seasonally adjusted 172,000 for the period. Yeah, In April, upwardly revised numbers of 179,000. All right, so just down slightly from those April numbers as well, but well above the consensus estimate out there. It was only for 80,000. The unemployment rate held steady at 4.3%. That was the estimate, so that came in as expected as well. What sectors are seeing the biggest advances in jobs? Leisure and hospitality, 70,000 jobs in those sectors. Growth, well above the 14,000 per month average over the past year on top of it. Local government, well, it added 55,000 jobs as well. Now, healthcare, what has been the leading sector for several months now? Well, it was at 35,000 new hires. That's right in line with its average, but not the number one growth here in this reporting. And then social assistance added about 12,000 jobs as well. Average hourly earnings rose, but barely 0.3% for the month. They were up 3.4% over the past year for the average earnings as well. Both in line with what the estimates were thought to be out there by the numbers. So these numbers are way better than expected here this morning. And we're just showing that new no hire, no fire market. Even though some industries are adding a ton, some are pulling back and out. That report just came out about 10 minutes before we came on air, so I wasn't able to delve into the big loss mark, big loss sectors and things to that effect. So, but we do know the growth ones coming out there as well. And then it's a lot of bad news here today, right? When markets are bad, we tend to get that. But a new report came out this week from the Federal Reserve. It's all about inflation. And this shouldn't surprise you if you know how the economy works. Well, it finds inflation is pushing prices higher, but it's pushing it up at a stronger pace than people thought, specifically in most of the regional districts around the country. What's driving that inflation? Energy prices. So no surprise there if you've been out in the economy at all lately as well. The Fed released its latest edition of the Beige Book, is what they call it. It summarizes economic conditions in each of the Fed's 12 regional districts, and it's published 8 times a year. Labor costs that are unrelated to labor, input costs that are unrelated to labor, well, they were rising at a faster pace than selling prices. That contributes to a, quote, broader concern about margin compression among businesses. A lot of concerns businesses have and have had. Some of these companies have just been eating the inflation numbers, the price increases, which makes their margin shrink a little bit. Some have signaled, like Walmart, have signaled, we're not going to do that much longer if it doesn't get better out there. That is the biggest concern. Now, despite that disruption of the energy market and the prices, skyrocketing, driving the inflation numbers, but then that passes along to price increases for consumers as well. The report noted that producers remain leery of expanding output, all because of the uncertainty in this market. Right? Easiest way to drive down prices, expand your output out there. But you got to have buyers for it as well moving forward. Higher costs for fuel and fertilizer, they contributed to the agricultural conditions remaining flat or even declining in most of the 12 districts. Farms face cost pressures for key inputs, not just fertilizer, but also the transportation of getting their crops, et cetera, out there through the truck system. Economic uncertainty is also weighing economic uncertainty is weighing on expectations for growth around the country. The report did go on to explain that, quote, business outlooks for the next 6 months reported to have little change in anticipated growth as elevated uncertainty and signs of weakened consumer spending weighs on the sentiment out there. So, Fed report on regional reactions, because a lot of times you'll see several regions, like in one area, like let's just pick on the South there for a second. That could be actually really bad numbers or really good numbers, but then in the Upper East region, could be bad numbers on there. We're seeing the same reporting through all 12 regions with this Fed report that came out earlier this week as well. Here's some good news if you want to refinance or you're buying a house right now. But get on it quick because Treasury yields are going up today again. But the benchmark 30-year fixed mortgage rate, well, it went to 6.48% this week. It was at 6.53% last week. This is all we get this information from Freddie Mac, of course, the big government mortgage buyer out there. The average rate remains below 6.85%, where it was just a year ago. Rates have been, as you know, mostly trending higher since the war in Iran began on February 28th. Mortgage rates are influenced by several factors. As you know, the Federal Reserve's interest rate policy decisions, affects the bond market investors and their expectations for the economy and inflation as well. But the big thing that mortgage rates are affected by is the 10-year Treasury yield, which again is going up today as well. It's gone up a couple times here over the last week. Those numbers, by the way, came out yesterday as well. So that's about what the mortgage rate was at that time. So if you're looking to get a house, lock in that rate now before it starts to inch up here, as we're seeing here on this Friday out there. It's been a while since we've talked about, I don't know how to put this, the screwworm. Yeah, that's that flesh eating parasite. It has been kept out of the U.S. livestock for several decades now. It was down in Mexico and the southern South America countries and kind of been fighting it down there. Well, it has now been detected in Texas. Folks, we already know beef prices are high. If this becomes an epidemic out there, it's going to cause those cattle herds, which are already at low levels, to, even shrink even more. But obviously, this screwworm being detected in Texas is threatening the nation's cattle supply and food supply out there. Prices can keep going higher, right? If it's not one thing, it's another thing out there. Nothing ever just goes smoothly. The case of the New World screwworm, well, it was confirmed, as I said, in a three-week old calf over there in La Pryor, which is near the U.S.-Mexico border. The Department of Agriculture came out with this announcement this week. So what happens here with the screwworm? Well, it's a parasitic fly, and its larvae feed exclusively on the living tissue of warm-blooded animals. The fly is capable of infecting humans and pets, but it is rare, pose little risk to the broader public, in terms of you getting infected by it and causing some issues. But, it does not pose a food safety threat either, other than hurting the cattle, the cattle herds and things to that effect. But in the food itself, it won't affect us, they say, the experts say. But a wider outbreak could still cost the livestock industry billions of dollars and obviously put additional pressure on beef prices that are already at record highs. It's the first confirmed detection of the New World screwworm in Texas since 1966. It's the only confirmed case identified in the country here in the U.S. so far. Now, we've been telling you about this screwworm for a few months now, but we haven't talked about it, in a couple months here, but now that it's detected here in America. But remember this is the disease that were months of warnings from U.S. and Texas agriculture officials out there because it was moving north through Mexico towards the American border. And last time we had heard, if I remember correctly, it was like halfway through Mexico, and Mexico said they had eradicated it, and we were helping them fight it down there as well, trying to keep it down in that area. Because the primary weapon against the screwworm, yeah, it's an old technique, decades old technique. It's actually how it was eradicated the first time from the United States. Going right back to that method, the decades old method. Yeah, what you do is you release sterilized male flies into affected areas. Female flies, generally mate only once, those that pair with sterile males are unable to produce any offspring. So obviously, population of the screwworm dies off at that point. In a bid to contain the spread of the parasite, the U.S. Department of Agriculture said it has actually begun releasing sterile flies into the area. It's investing heavily in new sterile fly production facilities in Texas. How would you like to be that? Like, where do you work? I make sterile flies in Texas. That'd be quite the job description you have to explain to somebody. Yeah. They also established a roughly 12-mile quarantine zone around the site and has restricted the movement of warm blooded animals. That includes livestock and pets. Because pets aren't immune to the screwworm, it's all living animals as well. So just help get this response, kind of eradicate this as quick as possible as well. Because if this expands out and gets bigger, cattle stories are going to dwindle, which means our beef prices will go up at that time as well. And I promise you, I moved the food story up here today because this is important as you're driving into work today. If you want to stop, it is National Donut Day. And normally I would have told you about this yesterday, but not being here, we moved it up in the show to make sure as you're driving into work here this morning on this Friday, you still have time to act and maybe be the hero around the office. This little history of Donut Day. This kind of surprised me a little bit. I just assumed that donut companies just called it Donut Day. No, this is celebrated on the first Friday in June. It was established back in 1938 by the Salvation Army. It was all to honor the organization's Donut Lassies and Donut Girls. Those are women who traveled to France to serve donuts and other snacks to soldiers during World War One. The Salvation Army put out a statement and said, the story of Donut Lassies is one of extraordinary courage. The women who traveled to the front lines of the World War displayed compassion and bravery. On this 88th National Donut Day, we honor their remarkable legacy alongside the veterans who have served this nation, reminding ourselves to carry that same spirit of joyful service into every community that we serve. I had no idea National Donut. I used to assume the donut companies were like, try our donuts. There's actually an interesting history behind it as well. According to the Salvation Army, the Donut Lassies, they worked in makeshift huts, offering soldiers emotional and spiritual care. That sounds a little, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I just call them that. Essential supplies and freshly fried donuts were also in those huts, quickly transforming the treat into a symbol of comfort and joy. Krispy Kreme fans can get a free donut of your choice today. No purchase necessary there. There is a limit of one per guest, and the offer is available in-shop and even through the drive-thru there at Krispy Kreme. If you want to go to... Oh, also, by the way, you can get a dozen original glazed donuts at Krispy Kreme for $2 with the purchase of any dozen at the regular price. And then Dunkin'. 16th year in a row, they'll give out a free donut on National Donut Day. With the purchase of any beverage, free donut with your beverage. Hey, 7-Eleven's getting in on it as well. It's treating 7 Rewards and Speedy Rewards members. Unlimited classic glazed donuts for just 50 cents each at participating 7-Eleven stores as well here today also. So you can get in there and have some fun. And Autumn chimes in on the chat. Don't forget, TME Media AZ on YouTube is where you can find us live out there along with our replays. She says, wow, don't disparage the Donut Lassies. I'm just saying, the way they described that sounded interesting. We'll just say it that way. Folks, when we come back here as well, besides telling you how to look like a hero this morning at your office, well, we'll get into some local stories, at least in the coal. President Trump's doing some things with coals. That affects the nation, but will affect some coal plants here in the United States as well, or here in Arizona as well. We'll tell you about that, some other local stories that we need to get into as well, including, well, something that's always been here, being renamed, but coming back as well in the sports world. We'll tell you about that. Come on back, folks. McCollum on Business. And we're back here, McCollum on business, having some fun. Getting in a little bit of trouble here on this Friday as well. And you just saw right there our commercial for the Real Matrix. Today it's Friday. So at noon today on Rumble is where you find the on demand of the Real Matrix there. Noon today, new episode out. It's part 2 of the Charlie Kirk divisions or sections here of the Real Matrix. Coming out today at noon on Rumble, rumble.com/user/TME Media. Of course, just click on the videos pop up there, click on that channel button, and you can click on any show there on Rumble. All of our shows are on demand there at Rumble as well. Real Matrix Podcast, I see a lot of you enjoying that there, just listening to that program. Well, that's there, of course, on the free podcast systems. Just search the Real Matrix. Angry Patriot. It'll pop right up for you as well there on your free podcast system here as well. Noon today, folks. New episode coming out. And, of course, as soon as we're done here, we get this show up on demand on the YouTube page and over at Rumble. Of course, TME Media AZ on YouTube is where you can find our live programming, which is this show, and the main event from 8 to 10 a.m. as well. You can find us live there at those time frames, and then on demand after that, including the pit stop, which is up for this week since Wednesday. We look back at last weekend's racing for IndyCar in Detroit, of course, Nashville, and then we look ahead to this weekend as well in racing here. The IndyCar is over in St. Louis, the WWTR, Worldwide Technology Raceway, over there in St. Louis. Another oval course for IndyCar, and then, of course, NASCAR. Truck Series and Cup Series up in Michigan. And Michigan is, if it's not the fastest track out there for NASCAR, gals and boys, well, it's definitely one of the top fastest tracks out there. So a big weekend in racing. Check out the pit stop, either on demand on the YouTube page, TME Media AZ, or over on Rumble, rumble.com/user/TME Media, or, of course, free podcast system there. You can either search the Pit Stop Talk, or just search the Pit Stop with Steven. It'll pop up for you on your favorite podcast systems as well. And then there is a free, social media there as well. The Pit Stop Talk is where you can find it. Like and follow the racing for us there on X as well. And don't forget, follow TME Media AZ as well on X. That's the parent company of all of our production stuff out there. We got big things happening. We're going to have some little short shows coming up that'll go directly to Rumble and, of course, to YouTube as well. Coming your way. We're in final testing and production on those pages coming up, and we'll throw them up there, of course, have some fun here over the summer. So make sure you subscribe our pages as well for some additional content out there. And with all that being said, let's get right into that Market Watch. Shouldn't shock you. Nothing's changed here. Everything is still down. Chips are selling off. We told you about that in the first segment. We're going to look at memory chips here coming up in just a moment. Yields are rising all after that jobs report here this morning, where huge job growth here in the reporting here from the non-farms payroll report. We covered that there in the previous segment of the show at the top of the show. Well, Dow Jones is down the 163 points right now to 51,415. The S&P 500 is down 69 points to 7505. The Nasdaq's down 491 points right now, and a lot of chip stocks being down is dragging that way down right now. And the Nasdaq 490 points down, 26,340. The small cap index there, known as the Russell 2K, down 48 points right now to 2882. And then Bitcoin continuing its free fall here today, 60,354. That's a long way down from 78,000 at one point. And I was thinking yesterday while I had the day off there, and I was thinking as the day went on, it's kind of like, man, all the entities and large companies that bought into Bitcoin when it was 100,000, 111,000, 112,000. That's half the value right now for the people that bought in large sums at those numbers here. Your half value as of right now as well. And ouch is all I can say from that perspective. Stocks we're paying attention to right now while we looked at the chip makers. Now we're going to look at the memory stocks out there. First one, Micron Technologies as well. These sold off yesterday as well. Yesterday was not a good day on the stock market either. So the sell off continues today on the memory stocks here this morning. Yeah, Micron Technologies down 6.06% right now. Lam Research is the next one we're going to look at. Unless something's changed, these are all down today. 4.96% down for Lam Research. And then you got Seagate Technology as well. Well, down 3.83%. And then SanDisk is the final one. And folks, with the sell-off like today, it's hard to find positive ones out there worth talking about. 6.10% down here today for SanDisk as well. And as I go to like the overall stock that I do, I can tell you there are some up stocks today, but obviously we wanted to focus on the big sell-offs from yesterday and today with these chip stocks and memory chips. I can tell you Chipotle's up 5.27% today. FedEx Freight, which is a spinoff of FedEx now, 6.21% up today as well for that stock there on the S&P 500. The NASDAQ Dexcom is up 2.77. Walmart's up 2.53%. Marriott up 2.45% here today and as well on there. So there are obviously stocks that are up today, but not in that tech field with chips and memory chips as we're looking at today. Coca-Cola is up 2.812% here today as well. Procter & Gamble's up 2.51%. Just to give you not to be all, I don't want to be all doom and gloom here because it feels like I've been that way until we got to that national donut story. I felt like we might have been a little doom and gloom here on this Friday as well. And then Ann says, hey, what a fun history lesson, meaning about National Donut Day. Yeah, I was shocked to see that, the history. Like I said, I just assumed like a donut company was like, hey, let's make the first Friday in June donut day so people can try donuts and they'll buy more from us. There's actually a history of it. I was floored by this. Ann does say, I may need to stop and get a donut to honor those brave women. That is true. And you bring up a good tagline. That should have been my tagline. Do it for the ladies. Get a donut today for the ladies. Could have made that the tagline as well out there. Don't forget, live on TME Media AZ there on YouTube here every morning at 7 o'clock as well. And let's get into, well, this first story is a local story because it is going to affect some coal stuff here in Arizona, but this also encompasses the whole United States out there. President Trump, he announced a $700 million investment in coal yesterday. Mountain West states, as a general, could play a major role in that dollar amount. The administration says it aims to keep electricity prices low. Of course, there's always critics to this. They say the effort will only increase rates, hurt the environment, and then they say put human health at risk, more cancers, etc., as coal gets just put up into the atmosphere as well. So this was a press conference happened yesterday. Trump referred to the energy source as known as coal. He called it beautiful, clean coal in that press conference as well. Coal's also been in decline for almost 2 decades as people have moved toward those clean energy sources. Now, he invoked his wartime authority, President Trump did, through the Defense Production Act. He said $425 million will go toward extending the lives of 13 coal plants nationwide. One of those is over here in the Mountain West. And that means they'll pay for upgrades and reinforce grid reliability for those core sources. Now, the Arizona Electric Power Cooperative, it is one of the recipients of those funds. So it is going to affect one of those coal plants here in Arizona. Wyoming and New Mexico, well, they're the other 2 states as well. And Wyoming, they're kind of benefiting from it as well because Wyoming and New Mexico power and bring coal to the funded plants, the plants that are getting funded. $200 million will go towards opening 2 new coal plants, one up in Alaska, another one in West Virginia as well, and then also kind of getting one back up and running again, kind of restarting it up in Maryland. $75 million in the Department of Energy funds will support the construction of a coal export terminal in Oakland, California. Well, that's been held off because of the Biden administration. That's going to get a restart here. The Trump administration said coal communications in Wyoming, Utah, and across the rest will benefit tremendously from the new port coming open again. And this shocked me. When I think coal, not going to lie to you, I think West Virginia. I think those parts are maybe Pennsylvania a little bit, but mainly West Virginia. Wyoming is the largest producer of coal in the U.S. I don't know why that's surprising, but it kind of surprised me a little bit. I don't think of coal when I think of Wyoming. At the same time, but as West Virginia, I think of coal and other things that, you know, hillbillies, etc., right? At the same time as the Trump administration is making the latest investment in the coal industry, it's even blocking development of wind or solar energy at the same time. Obviously, that's where the people against coal are kind of even more so complaining about it. They say, you know, energy, solar, wind is more cleaner, more affordable to do than coal out there as well. U.S. coal production's actually dropped 56.2% since it actually peaked back in 2008. Yeah. West of the Mississippi River, it's actually gone down by 58.1% since it peaked in 2008 as well. So, kind of a resurgence of coal coming here. That means a couple things: jobs and money, right? Electricity, which we all know we need more of, and easy to pump that back into that system as well. So, Trump administration sending some funds here to the Arizona coal industry here in Arizona, and now the Arizona legislature has officially passed a bill. It's on the governor's desk here, but it's going to require vapes and other alternative nicotine products has to be authorized by the Department of Liquor Licenses. Going the way of alcohol here for vapes and those types of products. Well, the bill's sponsor, well, he said that the measure also has strict limits when it comes to marketing to minors. That's the main thing he's talking about with this bill when he talks about it. This representative's out of Chandler. He says it's all about the marketing of these products to children is what he wants to restrict, a la the cigarettes, right, back in the day. There were a bunch of people who opposed the bill. No shocker there. A Democrat out of Phoenix did. And he said the measure is still lacking. His exact quote was, "This bill has no tax on alternative nicotine products that has no educational piece to drive children away from nicotine." And that's his complaint about the bill. So the bill now is on Governor Katie Hobbs' desk. If she signs it, the regulations will take effect January 2028. But she is the veto queen. So there's no guarantee she's going to sign it. I don't think she's found a bill she likes yet here since being governor out there as well. So we'll have to see if she passes it or if she wants more tighter regulations in it. But it is on her desk now as well. And finally, folks, here today, the past is back. Let's put it that way. 8 name changes, 4 venue changes here. Yep, in terms of college football and bowl games, the Cactus Bowl, if you remember that name, it's going to return over to their Sun Devil Stadium, as I like to still call it, but it's actually called Mountain America Stadium now. It's going to be returned there for the first time since 2015. It's a nationally televised game. It'll kick off at 5:30 p.m. Phoenix time on December 26th. It'll be on ABC. The Cactus Bowl is managed by the Fiesta Sports Foundation. It's had a long history here in Arizona, deep ties to the whole state. Tucson served as the first home of the Copper Bowl in 1989, is what they called it back then. The event has bounced around the state of Arizona. Went from Tucson's Arizona Stadium. It was there for 10 years from 89 to 99. Then this is the one that went to Chase Field, 2000 to 2005. Then it went over to Sun Devil Stadium again, 2006 to 2015. Back to Chase Field from 2016 to 2025. Back to now Mountain America Stadium there in Tempe now as well. This bowl game has an average of 39,671 fans attending, 36 total games in the life of this bowl. Now, that does not include the 2020 game because there wasn't one, COVID-19 reasons in 2020. 10 games at basically Sun Devil Stadium back then, right? And the 10 games there averaged 44,800 people at those when they were at Sun Devil Stadium. The most attended game was the 2011 Insight Bowl. Oklahoma versus Iowa had 54,247 fans over there at now Mountain America Stadium. The most recent game this last year, New Mexico and Minnesota, had an attendance of 27,439 fans, highest for the bowl among the last 5 games. It comes down to matchups, but also it comes down to stadium. Watching a football game at Chase Field was a novelty, being a baseball stadium, but it also had its crappiness as well. Now, the venue has moved over the years, as I just told you, and everything. The title sponsors changed, and 8 name changes throughout its history. Originally, there down in Tucson, it was called the Copper Bowl. Then, of course, it moved to the Insight Bowl. This was also the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl for one, I think it was 1 year, maybe 2 years there. Then it went to the Ticket City Cactus Bowl. Then just the Cactus Bowl. And then this, of course, was this is the year I went back in 2018. Yeah, the Cheez-It Bowl, because you got free Cheez-Its when you went in. Fantastic. Enjoyed it. Then it moved to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, and then Guaranteed Rate changed their name, so then it was just the Rate Bowl. So now it's just the Cactus Bowl again here coming up. Big 12 and Big 10 conference tie-ins, so you have a matchup between those two conferences as well there in Tempe, December 26th. Prime time on ABC, folks. A good slot for it. I will say that as well, which tends to tell you you're going to get a couple good teams matched up here in that tournament if it's a primetime game on ABC coming up. Appreciate you joining me here on this Friday. I know it was a short week, only 4 shows this week, but we'll be back on Monday, 7 a.m. as well. Come and join us. We have so much fun doing this. Share us with your friends. Catch us live at 7 a.m. on YouTube, TME Media AZ. Of course, we roll into the main event next, live also on YouTube, TME Media AZ, from 8 to 10 o'clock. And then everything's on demand after that, folks. Don't forget, follow TME Media AZ as well on X. This tells you what we got going around here on in the company and what we have coming up and everything. And have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.